When we think of monsters, the image of the undead, the gothic, and the products of radioactivity spring to mind, but an oft underappreciated monster lurks in our current culture. This is the second in our investigations on monsters, and this week's creature happens to be my personal favorite from the Universal catalog, the Invisible Man. Last time we defined what a monster is: an unnaturally created being acting as a metaphor for some social or political ill. The Invisible Man is no exception to this rule, and the metaphor he represents is perhaps more poignant today than it was in 1933. What makes the Invisible Man so insidious is that, unlike other monstrous metaphors, ordinary people deal with, and even fight internally, the evils he represents. And that darkness feels like a peculiar plague on our modern times. So from a metaphorical standpoint, what disturbing reflection of the human condition does the Invisible Man represent? He is the incarnation of masculine depression, the need for ultimate control, and finally, the unbridled ambition to commit revenge upon a world that has rejected him. The 1933 Universal picture was adapted from the 1897 H.G. Wells novel of the same name. The film is a decent adaptation of the novel, though the novel itself may be an even more heightened version of this metaphor. The film stars the unreasonably charming Claude Rains as Dr. Jack Griffin, aka the Invisible Man. His love interest, Flora Cranley, was played by the always stunning Gloria Stewart. You may recognize that name and that face from The Old Dark House from 1932 and from Titanic from 1997 as the elderly Rose. Henry Travers, who you may know as the guardian angel in It's a Wonderful Life, plays the scientist and father of Flora, Dr. Cranley. William Harrigan rounds out the main cast as the sniveling and weaselly Dr. Arthur Kemp. Some other Universal mainstays popped up in the film in smaller roles, with the great Dwight Fry as a news reporter and Una O'Connor playing the memorable and hilarious barkeep Jenny Hall. The plot of the film is a rather simple, Frankenstein-esque story where a man attempts to push the envelope of scientific capabilities with a growing contempt for his fellow man and society. And like Dr. Frankenstein, his hubris leads to his own undoing. While the Invisible Man shares certain commonalities with Dr. Frankenstein and the monster, their metaphors are worlds apart. Jack Griffin doesn't seek fame, recognition, or scientific accolades. He wants power. He wants control. He wants terror. He wants revenge. Invisibility doesn't make Griffin evil. It reveals his inner drive, and that motivation is chaos. Let's talk psychology. Modern research shows that depression in men often doesn't look like sadness. It looks like irritability, risk-taking, anger, and emotional withdrawal, which psychologists call externalizing depression. In other words, it looks less like tears and more like Griffin. There's also something called normative male alexithymia, a tendency shaped by socialization for men to struggle identifying and expressing emotional pain. In essence, if you can't say, "I'm hurting," you might say, "I'll make them hurt." Griffin doesn't confess loneliness, he fantasizes about domination. Control feels like safety. Invisibility becomes metaphor. Griffin is unseen, unknown, and unknowable. He is unacknowledged and overlooked. And when that invisibility festers, it mutates. As a social species, these factors would play hell on any psyche, but The product of such factors can be heightened based on one's own psychology. In fact, research on threatened egotism shows that individuals with fragile high self-esteem can respond aggressively when their superiority is not recognized. Griffin is the embodiment of the angry man, the silent, withdrawn, depressed male. Griffin believes he is exceptional. The world does not applaud, much less even see him, so he decides the world must suffer. Watch what Griffin does once he realizes he cannot be stopped. He doesn't cure disease, he doesn't solve hunger, he doesn't help humanity in any way. He robs, he intimidates, he fantasizes about murder as theater. Control is the currency of the powerless. Invisibility removes accountability, and accountability is the final thread tying a man to his conscience. In the 2000 film Hollow Man, Kevin Bacon's Sebastian Cain willingly becomes invisible. He's brilliant, narcissistic, and convinced that he deserves more. Once unseen, he escalates almost immediately. Voyeurism, harassment, violence. Not because invisibility created evil, but because it removed consequence. He doesn't want connection, he wants access. And then there's the Invisible Man from 2020. Here, the metaphor shifts perspective. The Invisible Man isn't just depressed or aggrieved, he's abusive. Adrian's invisibility becomes the ultimate tool of coercive control. Gaslighting is weaponized through technology. The 2020 film makes explicit what Wells implied. Invisibility magnifies entitlement. The need to dominate, to punish defiance, to reclaim control when the ego is threatened. Across all versions, the pattern holds. Unseen pain mutates into rage. Rage seeks control, control becomes revenge, and revenge masquerades as justice. But here's the cruel twist. In Wells's novel, when Griffin dies, his body slowly becomes visible again. Only in death does he rejoin humanity. Only when stripped of power does he become seen. Power is the opposite of love, and love is what all invisible men really seek, to be seen, heard, and truly understood. When the urge to power is removed, suddenly he allows the world to see him for the first time. That's not subtle, and it's not meant to be. The Invisible Man is a dire warning about the dangers of invisibility. When a man is unseen, he will withdraw, seek agency through control, and feel nothing but indignant bitterness toward the society that rejected him. Is this his fault? Yes. He makes choices, and Griffin is the old faithful of bad decisions. But this metaphor goes further than that. It's something we must all own up to. Angry young men aren't born. They are created, and in this increasingly isolated day and age, where purpose, meaning, and gender roles become more and more nebulous, we are becoming a factory of dangerous young men who grow desperate and will do anything to be seen. The Invisible Man from 1933 is both silly and terrifying, and it shows the duality of the conversations that surround this topic. It's a brilliant film with impressive effects, but more importantly, it may be the most important monster metaphor for our time, and we ignore it at our own peril. This investigation is brought to you by my Night of the Demon t-shirt, inspired by the 1957 horror film. If you enjoy these sorts of essays, consider getting one of these fun shirts. There are many other designs to choose from. Links are in the description. Every purchase helps this channel keep going and producing the content you love. Also, show the YouTube algorithm that classic film content should be promoted by liking this video, leaving a comment, and subscribing. Thank you for watching. What investigation should we do next? Tell us in the comments below. This is the Classic Film Detective, signing off.